Welcome to our second visit to the Workers and Resources Soviet Republic track laying test track. And since making the last video, I've had a suggestion on another modded version, which is the MUV Tunneler. And a big thank you to Radomir Saiter for pointing me in the direction of that one. And what I also did was I did a bit more detailed search through the workshop. And I actually found a pack of construction trains based on the Polish State Railway. Now, apologies, I can't even begin to try and pronounce the names of the creators of that mod. So what I'm going to do is put a link in the video description to both sets of mods, because all the other ones that could be featured in this test are all part of that pack. And I think if I remember correctly, let me just come into here, it'd be easier just to show you. If I come down to here, this is the MUV Tunneler, and then the 4 above here and the 5 down here are all from the same pack of the Polish State Railways. And as you can see here, so there's 5 here, 9, 10, and I want to include a baseline thing. So I can't test every single one of these. So what I've actually done is I've gone through and taken the upgraded versions of them the best I can, thinking that what will make the tests most interesting. So probably the best way is if I work my way up through the various construction sheds. Well, actually, before I do that, for anyone who's not seen this testbed track, what it consists of is we've got an area here which will provide both all the workers required to keep the trains fully occupied. We've also got auto purchase on there, and the actual test track consists of a number of tests, which is local bridge building here, short track testing, 750 meter length of electrical track, which I'm not going to be using in this test. What we're going to do is we're going to go straight to the 750 meters of standard track, because one thing I did get from the first test video I did, there's not a lot of benefit in comparing these two. So what we're going to do is come back there, and then we've got a further 750 meters which has got a long run out, and at the end here we got another bridge building test. And then and the final test is a group of short tracks which we will be running with an auto detect on. That is going to be the test we're going to be conducted. And what I will probably do is not quite go into such great detail of the progress on these, because I want to try and keep this video a little bit shorter than the last one. So working our way up, what we've got in what we could call track 1 is the MUV Tunneler. This is the mod that was suggested by Radomir, and if I come here, it's quite an interesting mod. It's actually slower than the standard model that it's modeled on, which is the MVU69 here. But what it has got is quite a lot more carry capacity here, and I think you can disregard the numbers underneath. I don't think they actually make a lot of sense unless it's related to the, say, like this tunneler's ability to carry electro components. If any of you actually understand the reasoning of putting that in, feel free to tell me, because I mean, I just don't see how that actually works. I'm just going to move up to here. Now the next one up is a quite familiar model. It's the EDK80 Crane, and this is going to be our baseline comparison, because most of these mods tend to be on the smaller side for carry capacity and with workforce. Well, I think they are. I haven't really run all of them. I've just run a sample. So I thought a fair test would be to compare it against the EDK80 rather than the Super KZH or something like that. And then the next one up is the SM42. Now there isn't much information on the SM42. It's the SM42 PNI here. It's got quite a useful top speed, quite a lot of carry capacity, and I'm a bit skeptical whether it's going to carry 200 tons of gravel. But it'd be very interesting to see how this train actually performs. And then we're just going to go up one more, and the next one up we've got the EDK80, which is this one here. And again, you can see it's got a top speed of 80 kilometers an hour, an empty weight of 288 tons, and then moving up again, thank you Autumn to say, we've now got the WZB10 plus MWM. I mean, it's got quite a long name on it, and I think it's this one here. So you can see it's the NZB10, PWM10, PWM10 covered. And again, I'm not exactly too sure what all that means. I'm sure it means something to someone, but I'm going to be quite curious to see how this performs. And this is actually the upgrade version of this one, which is a WB10.PMW10, and I think we've also got the standard one. So this has got 2 levels of upgrade on it. So I thought I'd go for the top one, and then what we got in this one is the WZA10, which is this one here. I think it's it's this one here, which is the WZA10 plus PMW10, and this has actually only got a top speed of 70 kilometers an hour, and it's only got an empty weight of 12 tons, and it actually looks a little bit more like a truck than a train. This is one of the reasons why I chose the DKG Top 5 crane. So we got that one there, and if we move up to the next one, this is the WMPM.15, which is this one, I think. Yeah. And you can see this has got a top speed of 80 kilometers an hour and a carry weight of 32 tons. Again, it looks a little bit like a truck. And of course, one of the advantages of these is some of these are pretty cheap, except for maybe these top 2 ones here. They're only actually 10,000, and quite strangely, they come in quite late in the game, like 1984. So I'm quite curious to why these would come in quite late. Although you've got the what you'd call the simpler versions down here, and again they're quite cheap. So like this WZA10, it's only 5,000 rubles, which if you compare that even with the standard trains, that's very cheap. In the top track, I've got the WM15, which is this one here, which has the appearances of having the lowest capacity of all. This is like the standard baseline, and that's what I want to use it for, as the baseline for all these mods in here. So we've got all that set up. So I think what we can do now is get stuck into the first test, and of course the first test is going to be laying the bridge. So I'm just going to come in here, make sure we're still on paused. I'm just going to come down here, so we can do a bit of a bridge building, make sure we've got them all set up. So I'm just going to go back up, double check that I've got every one of these set up. Although what we'll probably be doing more than anything else is just visual checks. So we got 4 on that side, not on that side, and I'm just going to come here, and then we got that one there. So we should be all ready to go. I'm just going to turn it off, and then what I'm going to do is close this. I think we're going to go more for a visual check at the moment and try to track these, because one thing I found with the previous videos, they're all a bit cluttered. Of course, this will be my first trick. So this is the MUV Tunneller. Yep. That looks pretty good actually. It's actually got a carriage attached to it. This actually has a graffiti version and a non-graffiti version. So you're laying tracks. Of course, this is the DKG5. Wow, this is a long train. This is the SM4 penny. Actually, just speed this up a bit. Okay. These guys are moving. You just stood here, so you've only got 20 passengers. Wow, this one's even longer. So these guys are going to really do short shift the brick. You've got 25 workers on it. Well, this one looks a little bit smaller. What are you? You're the WZB10. Again, they're all kind of pushing through the brick situation. And we got, this is the WZA10. That looks quite small, and I mean, it does look a little bit like a little truck, doesn't it? It's quite nifty though. I quite like it. And of course, one of the interesting things is going to be the speed. I mean, the actual track lane speed is not particularly that fast. And this is the WM15 enhanced. It's like got a trailer on it. So this is like this this one with a trailer on the end. So it looks very much like this mod has got extra trailers on it. So at the moment, wow. So we got a bit of a front runner here. So he's actually completed the truss work. I don't think this one's going particularly that fast. I mean, you can see the speed though, so the difference could come later on when they're actually running up the track. Look at this. I mean, this guy's whipping out through here. I think my assumption's correct that these are the early type track layers. This guy's struggling a bit because he's only got 6 workers. Probably explains why they're so cheap. It looks very much like the MUV Tunneler is going to be making a lot of the running. This guy is just starting on this section here as well. Just double check. Yeah, so I'm wondering whether the fact that this train can't get completely out of the station is actually giving it a bit of a problem, though it is pushing through, but it's still not quite finished that section. Yeah, but this guy's still working on the first section, so it looks like these may not be that efficient with respect to the working on the bridges. And I think that's probably down to their actual workforces. If you compare the workforces on, say, the right hand side here, we've got 50 workers. So the tunneler's not actually, oh, he's here now. See, he's got 39 workers, and you can really see the difference with laying the extra track. So probably this is why he's a bit more efficient. So maybe he's got a bit of an unfair advantage against the other trains. Some of these haven't even finished the first one yet. That doesn't mean anything. That may all change later on once we get to other forms of track. So you can say it's fairly well balanced at the moment, but I'd still say that the MUV Tunneler is probably going to be out in front. That is it. I'm just going to let him run back into the shed, and then what we'll do is we'll just complete out the rest. So the MUV Tunneler actually completed the test first, or test 1 first, and they actually beat the EDK80 So I'm just going to pause now, and what we're going to do is go up and just see what the results for this is. So we're just going to auto purchase that. So I would say that the EDK80 Crane was second. And what we'll do is we'll just take a look at this. He actually finished. So, and the EDK80 was, I'd say, it was probably a good third. So just fun him out way as well. And then down here, he didn't really make that much progress. I don't think you did. You even get? I mean, this one here, the WZB, never really got finished the first job, so we need to complete that and complete that. And this guy managed to get onto the second one, so towards you, just complete this out. And he never really finished the first job, so let's complete you. And this guy, so just complete this out. So these never really got in the contention, but remember, these are very small early trains and they're very cheap. And we're just going to set up the next test. The next test is going to be laying out this shorter track here. So we're just going to, of course, we're just going to put the first one in. I'll just kick them off, and away we go again for test 2. Now, test 2 is a series of short tracks, and and there's actually a short length of electrical in there, which caused us a few problems for the UK25s, but hopefully all these guys are going to be quite happily dealing with the electrical track. So it looks like the MUV Tunneler is out pretty quickly, so's the EKG. What's this one? Yeah, I mean, I think now that these guys can get out, they seem to be making a bit more progress. And this guy's actually finished the first one. But you can see these are actually laying multiple lengths of track. So who's out in front? We'll wait till they get up to about here to start really tracking in detail. So even these guys are, I mean, they're actually laying a reasonable amount of track now. Okay, welcome back. We are approaching the end of the test, and I'm really amazed at the moment by the EDK80, and what they seem to have had is the ability to literally power through the electrical cables, and I think the extra capacity now is making a very big difference. You can see he's now actually, I'm just going to pause so that I don't lose this. You can see he's very much right on the last section of track here. I mean, the vehicles up here are lagging along quite badly. Down here with the SM42, he's still laying the electrical track. I think what happened is the EDK80 Crane kind of stumbled a little bit on the power cables, and so the EDK80 gets this test. And what we're going to do is just do the same as last time. I'm just going to let him run back into the depot, and then I'll complete these jobs. I mean, the MUV Tunneler isn't that far behind, but of course the EDK5 is just on this bit here. I think we'll just fund that so he doesn't come back out again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to skip the electrical cabling test, and we're going to go straight on to the 750 meters standard track. Well, we'll give that guy a little bit of an advantage. You might need it. 7, 8. So we've got them all. And I'm just going to close these off so we got a nice view. And we can unpause. So he's got an early start, but I don't think with the ability of only 6 crew, I don't think he's going to be able to take much advantage of this. And what we'll be able to see now is how these trains start to progress. What I'm going to do is just follow them for a little while, just to see who's kind of making the early running. And then what I'll do is I'll cut the video and come back probably in the halfway mark, and then at the end. Welcome to this halfway update. And the results are quite interesting because through the first half, the DKGU5 started to pull away. But what's happened is as the track's extended, the EDK80 is slowly catching up. And you can see they've actually started to pass it. The MUV Tunneler got off to a good start, but it's actually faded a little bit now. And the SM42 PNI is still in there. And of course the top 4 are not doing particularly that well. I mean, you can see that they're kind of, just if I click onto here, you'll see that they're all generally lagging behind, but the results are quite interesting. So what I'll do now is I'll cut away and I'll come back as we approach the final straight. Okay, welcome back. We are now in the final stages of this test, laying 750 meters of standard track. And it looks like the EDK80 is going to be the winner. To be honest, I actually thought they were going to win in the previous pass, but they just ran out of resources just short of the end of the track. And I'm just going to pause there so that I can keep everything on the screen at the moment. And it's been a very interesting test because you can say for 2/3 of the test, the EDK80 and the DKGU5 were running neck and neck, but what happened in the final quarter is probably because of the higher speed, the EDK80 slowly started to pull away. And then the battle between the two on the right here, again, the SM42 PNI was ahead of the Tunneler, but then what seems to have happened is the Tunneler, probably because of its extra capacity, started to pull back, and eventually the SM42 PNI actually started to fade. Let me just see what the speed on the SM. Where are you? What are you? The SM. Yeah, this one. Well, I mean, it's got 90 kilometers an hour, so in some ways it's twice the speed of the MUV Tunneler, but it's obviously must have restricted carry capacity, so that made a difference. It goes to show, as you move away, the balance between speed and carry capacities becomes more and more important. And we'll just watch this, the winner, which is the EDK80. At the moment, the EDK80 is starting to look very much like the star of this test cycle, so it looks pretty good. And that's it. It's all finished, and I'll just we'll just let him run back to the depot again, because none of these other guys are going to finish in this pass cycle. Just show you this is the MUV Tunneler, and one thing I've noticed with this Tunneler, he does seem to have a slightly faster track laying rate. Now, when he's laying track, he can actually have 100 workers, but I'm not exactly too sure how he could have 100 workers unless you get a modded construction site that's got a lot more workers available. Anyway, is the... Who are you? Yeah, the SM42. Okay, let me just complete out these tracks here. And actually, before I do that, I'll just show you. See, the maximum number of workers in here is 33. And it does vary according to the trains, but getting 100 workers in here continuously could be a bit of a challenge. And of course, up here, these small trains haven't really made the progress, just to show you. I mean, they made fairly steady progress, and as I say, as an early game train, they could be fairly useful, but I think they would get superseded relatively quickly. We should have everybody back in the depot. Now the next test is going to be 750 meters of standard track again, but of course every train now is going to have a longer run out, so this is where the faster trains should now start to get an edge. That's 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So we've got all 8. Again, I'm just going to close them all off, and we'll just get the test started. And what we'll do is try and get a position to see who has the... I'm guessing that it's going to be the small trains up here that are going to have the fastest run out. And it's possible now that these smaller trains may get a little bit of an advantage, but their carry capacity is still going to be a bit behind. So it looks very much like it's the SM42 and the EDK80. Their extra speed is now going to come into effect. So they're already on their way back. And see how much track these guys lay. He didn't lay that much track though. But you can see his less carry capacity. I think what you've got here with the EDK80 is that you've got speed, but you've also got capacity. So he's really laying out the track here. Here we are for the halfway update for this test, and you can see that the EDK80 is slowly pulling ahead of its competitor, the DKGU5 Crane. And I think what makes the difference with the EDK80 is that it's got a top speed of, I think it's 80 kilometers an hour, just to confirm. Yes, it's got a top speed of 80 kilometers an hour, but it's also got a good carry capacity. And I think that combination is allowing it to progressively pull away as compared to the DKGU8. And we're getting a similar effect with the race between the SM42 PNI and the MUV Tunneler. They were roughly neck and neck, but I think it's the extra carry capacity that's slowly pulling the MUV Tunneler in front, And if you actually consider, if we go back to here, that the come here to the tunneler, the tunneler's got top speed is 45 kilometers an hour, and the SM42 PNI is its top speed is 90 kilometers an hour. So the SM42 is twice as fast as the MUV Tunneler, but there's obviously the extra carry capacity of the MUV Tunneler that is slowly giving it the edge over the SM42. And you can see it's overhauled it, and it's now moving forward. And just to show you the progress up here, the progress up here is, I mean, it's slow and steady is probably the polite term for these. And let's go to the slowest one there. I mean, they would get there eventually, but truthfully, these top smaller trains aren't really really that good for long distance work. As I say, they're really more cheap and cheerful trains to get things done in the early part of the game. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to cut forward to the end of this test, and at the moment my money's on the EDK80. I can't see it being overhauled, but we'll see once the test ends. So here we are, we've reached the end of this test, and what I've done is I've paused the EDK80 right on the end because I wasn't too sure whether he's just going to finish those last 3 work days and go back. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that important because you can see that the EDK80 has clearly won this test again, so they're becoming the star of this test cycle. And if we look at the DKGU5, it was quite interesting that this kind of ratio was maintained between these two track layers from roughly about a third of the way through the test. The DKGU was able to hold its own, but it wasn't able to gain or lose against the EDK80. I think that is a good example of the ratio between speed and load. Now moving over to this right hand pair, again this was pretty intriguing actually, because in the first half of the test the MUV Tunneler was pulling away from the SM42 PNI, but what seemed to happen in the last third of the test is the extra speed of the MU42 PNI allowed it to start pulling back over the tunneler. So you can see that the gap was starting to close again, and I think if we ran this test to an end, I would be surprised if these two didn't actually complete on level pegging. And again, it shows the difference between speed and load, because the MUV Tunneler obviously has a higher load and track laying capability. You can see here the 90 kilometer speed of the SM42 PNI does make a difference. Anyway, so let's just get back out here. I'm just going to unpause and see whether he's going to, that's it, he's cracked it. And same as last time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let him run back to the depot, and we'll complete out these ones here. Yeah, I've set the tests up, and we are now ready to go to do some long distance bridge building, and I'm just going to watch the trains run out and see. I mean, I think if I can zoom out a little bit, you can see the relative speeds. You can see the 100 km trains rushing out here, and somewhere in here, I think it's this one. Quite interesting. Why are you going this? Now that's the SM42. He's 90 kilometers an hour. And then you got the 80, and then the I can't remember, year 50, and I think year 45. So we're now on the first bridge laying, and what I'm going to be interested to see is how many of these can lay all the bricks in the first pass. So we'll just see if we can hook some of these up very quickly. Again, it's probably the top 4, but we'll keep you in just as a comparison. So who's going to lay all the bricks in the first pass? Because this is what's going to make a little bit of a difference. It's quite interesting, he doesn't seem to be moving. So the DKGU5 has laid all the bricks in the first pass. So is the SM42. So is the EDK80. What's happened to the... So all the large capacity trains laid all the bricks in the first pass, but it looks very much like the smaller trains up here have got to go back and get some more. And what I'm going to do now is just keep with this stage of the test for the moment, because I want to see which one of these is going to make the biggest progress against the steel here, and that will give us an idea of what the actual carry capacity of each train is going to be. So the SM42 PNI laid 32 tons of steel, which means he's got a carry capacity of 10 tons. The EDK80 laid 21 tons, because that's 42, isn't it? So he was able to do half of it, and we must see how well. It looks like the GDKU only laid 20, so he got close. Was it 25 for 42? Is that 17 tons? And the tunneler, is he still going? Yeah, so the tunneler is still laying it out. Yeah. See, the tunneler's working on his first run, but the SM31 is back and the EDK60 is back. So the MUV Tunneler, he laid what, 20 tons, so he's got 1 ton less than the EDK80. He's got down to 22 tons, so he's behind, but the EDK80 in theory should be able to complete his job in this first stage in 2 runs, or second stage. He's actually doing the truss work, which is here. So will he actually complete this in 2 tons? Yep. So he's now completed that, so he's on the final stage. So effectively he's got the EDK80 is going to complete this first section of bridge with 3 round trips. You can see that the DKGU5 has got 8 tons left, and the lower capacity of the SMA, the lower capacity of the SM42 is now actually telling. You can see here the lower capacity of the SM42 PNI is telling, because he should stop at 10 tons. Let me see. So he stopped at 12 tons. So in fact he's going to have to do 5 round trips to finish this first stage. And so he's looking good. So the EDK80's been back out here again. I'm not exactly too sure why. Or didn't he have enough for the prefabs? Did I make a mistake there? I'll just have to check that on the video. Now the MUV Tunneler is the MV Tunneler. Now he's now completed that final stage. So in some ways he is actually gained on the EDK. So now the Tunneler and the EDK80 are technically level pegging. The DKGU is now just completed the second stage of this short section, but the SM42 PNI still got more tons. So is he going to complete this in this cycle? And just keep an eye on the EDK80. He should power through this and complete this first stage now. So again, the EDK80 is in the run. Yeah, look, he's powering through that like that. So he's now moved on to this section here. And you can see that the SM42 PNI still hasn't completed the second cycle. So the second and third, the second position is going to go down to between the EDKU5 Crane and the MUV Tunneler. And I think this will be a speed issue. And actually, it looks like they're both coming out pretty quickly. But I would say that the DKGU5 Crane is going to come second in this first step. Of course, what we're going to do is keep an eye on the fact that the start of the second bit of bridge needs 24 tons of bricks. So we'll see who's going to see straight away now that the extra speed of the EDK80 is counting, because he's just coming out now there. Right, so he's got 24 tons of bricks. The question is the EDK80 going to lay all the bricks in one go? And he needs 24 tons of bricks. So at the moment he's laid 9 tons of bricks, 10 tons of bricks. Looks very much like he is going to get the 24 tons of bricks in a single pass. Okay. So the MUV Tunneler has just come up for his last run, but where is he? Down here. And where is he? He's still struggling a little bit behind. Yep. So the EDK80 managed to lay all 24 tons of bricks in a single pass. You can see here the DKGU5. I doubt if he's going to actually lay all 24 tons of bricks in this pass. So he's down to 10. Oh no, he's going to make it. No, he's 9. Right, the MUV Tunneler is now completed the first section. So now all our main contenders are on the second section of bridge. But I would say at the moment it's the MVU Tunneler that's behind. But what I'm going to do now is cut the video, and I'll be back once we get into the final stages of this test. The DKGU5 is kind of working its way forward. I mean, he's still got a lot of 35 tons to steal, where what we should be seeing, here comes the victor. He's going to come through, and you'll see here, if you watch the bottom left there, he should have enough to complete all this in one pass with the prefabs and the steel, because this is where he's effectively laying the track. And yeah, I'm pretty certain he's going to do this in a single pass. What I'm going to do is just pause it there. No, we'll let him run, and then you can run back to the depot. There we are. So you can see from that result that the EDK80 literally trampled the opposition in this test, and I think it all come down to that extra bit of carry capacity that allowed it to lay the bricks in a single pass. And then what that did then is, with this extra speed, he was just able to gain. I think also the extra steel capacity made a difference. And it goes to show that when it comes to laying bridges, extra capacity probably counts more than speed. Anyway, so what we're going to do is just run through these. So, I mean, just do a bit of comparison. The DGKU5 Crane was still kind of in second position again. But more surprisingly is that the SM42 PNI was able to pull ahead of the NUV Tunneler this time. And I think that was down primarily to even though they didn't seem to have the carry capacity of the MUV Tunneler, but the extra speed of the MU42 on the long runouts has made all the difference. So, and of course what we'll do is just go up. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to work up and complete these. I'm now ready to do the final test. I had a bit of luck that the autosave had only just gone through as the previous test ended, so I didn't have to go back too far. And what I've done now is I've set everything up. We've now got the auto search, and what we're going to do now is get the trains come out here and finish this little sections out here for all of them. So I'll just get them going, and we'll see how they do on the outrun. And based on previous performance, I would say that my money is probably on the EDK80 to finish this, but you can never tell with this game, so we're just going to going and see what happens. I mean, you can see straight away the faster speed of these two trains here should make the difference. I can't really tag these because what they're going to do is they're going to probably power through these sections of track quite quickly. And he's going quite good. And you can see the difference in track lane speed there because of course these don't have much in the way of crew. They only got 8 crew. This guy's packing 21, and I don't know how many this guy was packing. Of course, you can see here the MUV Tunneler is probably struggling a little bit speed-wise. See that the what's his name? The EDK80 Crane is probably in there. Okay, as I'm watching this test, I'm just having a couple of thoughts, and I'm thinking that maybe I need a Super League test so that we can see who's the overall champion. And part of me says maybe have a tunnel section as well, just to see who's the best tunnel layer, because I'd be quite interested to run the EDK80 up against, say, the Super KZH, and just see how well that does. Maybe not against the UK25 because it's due to its restrictions. So maybe we could have a Super League of, say, the KZH461, the Super KZH, like that. I'd like to put in the Tunneler as well, because I think he could be quite useful. And we'd certainly want the EDK80 in the mix. And that could probably be it. Though maybe we can feel sorry for the DKJ5 Crane and see whether he can redeem himself as well. But yeah, so maybe that will be an option. And the other thing I'm also thinking about, based on this bridge test, is maybe I might run a series of individual tests to try and get the carry stats for various ones of these trains. But to do every one of them could be quite interesting. But maybe if I can get the top, say, 4 or 5, what I'll do then is run tests to get the detailed stats of their carry capacity, say, gravel wise, brick wise, and of course if we do tunnels we'll be able to do boards. And just so that I can, I mean, that's more going to be for my kind of personal interest, but if I ever do it I will publish the results. You can see, let's have a look here. Yeah, I mean the EDK80 is right out in front here. I mean, it's no contest, isn't it? And in some ways he's in the wrong league. I mean, truthfully, we should be comparing the SM42PI, the DKGU5 and the MUV Tunneler as a legitimate test. I mean, the EDK80 is outclassing them all. So what we'll do is we'll just let this test run to an end, and then what I want to do is just track these last 3 on this side, just to see who actually comes out on, who actually finishes this last spur. So, okay, welcome back. We're not quite finished with this test, but it's got very interesting because what's happened is that the SM42 here has actually faded as the test has progressed, despite being the fastest of the trains. And I think it's down to his less carry capacity. And what seems to have happened, what has happened is that the DKGU5 has progressively gained, but more importantly is the MUV Tunneler has pulled back considerably. But I think what's going to happen now is, because they both need to lay this short bit of track and then go back to do this, what's probably going to happen is that the Tunneler is going to lose it on a technicality here, because you can see here the DKGU5 has now completed everything except this short section of track. I would guess that he will not need 2 runs to complete this. So when he runs out the next time, he will finish that. But of course the MUV Tunneler will waste all its extra capacity just doing this little bit here, because he can't double back into there. So what you'll see is, so he's laid that bit of track, but of course he's not going to be able to get back to there and come back. If this track was a bit longer, then I would say that the MUV Tunneler would probably have the advantage, because he would have come out and come back again and lay it all in one go. So whether the MVU Tunneler can recover will depend on whether the DKGU5 can actually lay all this in one go. But you can see here how far the SM42 PNI has actually dropped off now. Yeah, at one point he was actually slightly in the lead of the other two. And I think that shows that there's going to be no perfect train that you can actually work with. So I think this is going to be the runner-up for this test. If he can lay all this in one go, I mean, it's 17 tons of gravel. We should be able to do it. And we'll just watch him. Let's just zoom in a little bit. I can get some nice close-ups of it. Thank you, autosave. Oh, he didn't have enough. Oh, wow. This could open up the possible victory for the MUV Tunneler, who's out on his way out now. I must admit, I was absolutely convinced he had enough to actually do all this in one go. And you can see. So the SM2 PNI is. We're going to finish this bit. Let's go, but you never know. He might actually get. No, he didn't quite finish that bit of track there. So here comes our possible victor, the MUV Tunneler. I mean, it'd be a bit ironic if he stops about a little tiny smidge from the end. Now look, you can see the sheer speed of him laying the track, because he's. And one thing I've noticed, no, he didn't finish it either. Wow. But I don't know if you actually noticed that on the video, that when this MVU Tunneler is actually laying track rather than bridges, he seems to be able to carry a lot more staff and lay track a lot more quicker, which is quite interesting. But for some reason the game seems to level all trains when they come to laying bridges, and that's one of the reasons why I was thinking I would like to actually do a test involving a tunnel. So we're just going to let this guy claim his victory, which he's fought very hard for, unless of course he just can't finish this little section of track, because then that will let the MUV Tunneler back in again. No, I think he's going to do it. Then again, that's what I said last time. No, he's going to do it. He's still got stores on the train. So the DKGU5 is the runner-up. I mean, to be honest, I'd say that the DKGU5 and the MUV Tunneler could be equal second, except for the vagaries of my test. And I think now we can move on to a conclusion. Well, the EDK80 is probably a very good example of combination of speed and carry capacity. It literally beat all the other vehicles hands down, and it wasn't like there was any close run solutions as there was in the previous test. I'm still very interested in the MUV Tunneler. I think he's got a lot of potential. So I think what I'm going to do is put together you could call a Premier League test cycle now, which would probably on a slightly different test track with more emphasis on maybe tunnels and bridges rather than straight outrun tracks. And I think it probably would need to be between the EDK80, the Super KZH, the KZH61, and I think we'll include the MUV Tunneler, and we'll probably keep the DKG5 Crane as a kind of counterbalance. The UK25s, I think I might do a different type of test for them, because of course they can't lay electrical cables and build bridges, so I would also assume that they can't build tunnels. So we'll probably drop them off and use them for another type of test. The other thing I'm also thinking is that maybe I will do some consumption tests just to get the loadings of the we could say the Champions League trains. But I think this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.